When you first create a pivot table and add fields to the layout, everything is visible. In this pivot table, you can see that I've got 4 fields in the rows area and 1 value field. And in this cell, I'm going to use a formula just so we can keep an eye on the pivot table total. So I'll type an equal sign and then scroll down to the very end and click on the grand total. Press enter. That puts a GETPIVOTDATA formula in here, and we're just getting the total quantity. And I'm going to format it with a comma so it's easier to read and get rid of those decimal places. So there's our number, and we can see what's happening in the pivot table just by keeping an eye on that total. Instead of seeing everything, you might want to focus on particular regions or products. So you can apply filters, and in this one I'm going to click on the category. So this is a category called bars. I'd like to only show a couple of categories. So in the drop down I'm going to remove the crackers and snacks categories. And now we can see just 2, and our grand total has gone down. Another way to focus in a pivot table is, instead of filtering items out, just hide the detail. So with the bars, maybe I don't need to see the detail on all those different types of bars, but I'd like to keep the total there unchanged. So one way to do that is to double click on that item. That hides its details, but it didn't change the subtotal. All the detail is still in there, it's just hidden away for now. You'll see that it also hid the detail for the New York bars and Philadelphia. So that item throughout the pivot table is now collapsed. We can't see its detail. If I want to see it again, I can double click, and that brings it back throughout the pivot table. So that's collapsing and expanding a particular item. Another way to do that is with little plus and minus buttons. Those aren't visible in my pivot table. I can show them if I select a cell in the pivot table, and on the ribbon under Pivot Table Tools, I'll click Analyze, click the drop down for Show, and here's the plus minus buttons. I'll click that, and this toggles it on and off. So if I clicked it again, it would hide them. Click it again to show. So with these buttons, we can do the same thing as double clicking. So here it's a minus. So if I click that, it collapses. If I click the plus sign, it expands. We can also use commands on the right click. So if I right click on Boston and point to expand collapse, I can collapse the entire field. So that's going to collapse all the cities. So all the cities now just show the city name and the subtotal. So we've collapsed it to this level. If we want to expand, we can use that right-click command again. So I'll right-click on Boston, expand collapse, and I'll expand it to category. So that only shows the Boston categories. It left all of these other cities collapsed. If I want to see the same thing for all the cities, I can expand that whole field. So I'll right-click on Boston, expand collapse, and expand entire field. So now all the cities are expanded, and we can see that last level that we expanded to a minute ago. And if I want to see this last level, I can right click on one of the cities, expand collapse, and now I'll expand the pivot table to product. So now we can see all the product detail under every category and city and region. So if you're going through the pivot table and hiding some things and showing other things, eventually you might want to get it all back to its original condition of showing everything fully expanded. And you can do that with 2 steps. The first step in showing everything will be to expand to the lowest level field, which is product. So I'll right click on a label, it doesn't matter which label, expand collapse, and expand to product. And then we just have to go to the top field, the outermost field, which is region. So I'm going to right click on one of the region labels, expand collapse, and expand entire field. So that puts everything back because we've shown the detail right down to the lowest level field and then expanded the top level field. For more Excel tips and tutorials, and to download the sample file from this video, please visit my Contextures website at www.contextures.com.